The hardest part is not the breakup. It's what comes after. The silence. The phone that never lights up. The conversations you keep having with them in your head while the real version of them is nowhere to be found. The humiliation of missing someone who seems completely fine without you. The ache of wondering how a person who once held your face like it mattered can now disappear like you were never there at all. And if they were avoidant, this pain becomes even more cruel, because nothing is clear. There was no clean ending, no satisfying explanation, just distance, mixed signals, a strange emotional fog that made you feel close one moment and shut out the next. 1 minute they were warm, vulnerable, open. The next, they were cold, unreachable, irritated by your need for reassurance. So now you sit with a wound that doesn't even know how to close, because part of you is still waiting for the version of them that loved you out loud. You want to know how to make the avoidant miss you after a breakup. Not because you're petty, because you want proof it was real. You want evidence that you didn't imagine the tenderness, the chemistry, the intensity. You want to know that when they went quiet, it wasn't because you were forgettable. You want to feel, even for one moment, that their absence is hurting them too. But here is the brutal truth that most people do not want to hear. The more you try to make an avoidant miss you, the less they can feel you. The more you explain, chase, remind, reach, react, post for them, cry to them, send the long message, ask for closure, ask if they ever cared, ask if they're seeing someone else, ask if they miss you, the more their nervous system reads you as pressure. Not love, pressure. And pressure is the one thing an avoidant is trained to escape. This is where people get it wrong. They think avoidants are heartless. They think they moved on overnight. They think the silence means indifference. But in many cases, what looks like not caring is actually emotional overload. What looks like coldness is often a defense. What looks like freedom is sometimes just numbness wearing a confident face. Avoidant attachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the fear of what feeling will demand. That distinction changes everything. Because when someone with avoidant patterns starts feeling too much closeness, too much guilt, too much emotional responsibility, the alarm system in their body begins to fire. Their amygdala, the part of the brain that scans for threat, does not always distinguish between danger and intimacy. To a regulated person, connection feels warm. To an avoidant person, deep connection can begin to feel like losing oxygen. Their nervous system starts reading love as engulfment. Their cortisol rises. Their body wants distance before their mind can even explain why. They don't always think, I need to leave because I don't care. Sometimes the deeper truth is, I need to leave because I can't process all of this and still feel safe. That is why they can pull away right after vulnerability, right after closeness, right after a beautiful night, right after saying they need you, right after the exact moment you thought things were finally becoming real. It makes no sense when you look at it through the lens of logic. It makes perfect sense when you look at it through the lens of defense. So if you are trying to make the avoidant miss you, stop asking how to trigger their emotions with tactics. Ask a deeper question. What makes an avoidant actually feel the loss? And the answer is not more intensity. It is silence. Real silence. Not strategic silence that is secretly screaming. Not silence while you stalk their stories. Not silence while you post quotes for them to decode. Not silence while your body is still energetically kneeling at their feet. I mean the kind of silence that removes your emotional availability from the dynamic. Because here is what most people never understand. Avoidants do not usually miss what is chasing them. they miss what is no longer regulating them for free. They miss the person who used to reach first, the person who softened every rupture, the person who made excuses for their distance, the person who turned confusion into patience, the person who absorbed inconsistency and still stayed open. They miss the emotional home they took for granted when that home closes its doors. And this is why silence is so powerful. Silence is not punishment. Silence is revelation. It reveals what your presence was doing in their life. When you stop texting, stop checking in, stop decoding every breadcrumb, stop emotionally volunteering, the familiar supply of reassurance disappears. The static clears. The space gets louder. The dopamine they got from knowing you were still there becomes unstable. The ego comfort of your accessibility begins to crack. And that is often the moment the avoidant finally has room to feel what they could not feel while they were busy defending themselves against you. Because when you were still reaching, they were still resisting. When you go still, they have nothing to push against. And that is terrifying. Imagine them at night. The day distracted them. Work helped. Friends helped. Their routines helped. Their detached little rituals helped. They told themselves it was for the best. They told themselves they needed peace. They told themselves you were too much, too emotional, too demanding, too intense. But then something quiet happens. They pick up their phone, and there is no message from you. No warmth waiting. No emotional bridge. No sign that you are still orbiting them. And the mind that once found relief in distance starts to feel the cost of it. They begin to remember your voice when it wasn't asking for anything. Your face when you were just being soft. Your loyalty. Your humor. The specific way you made life feel less sharp. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slowly, like a room cooling after the fire goes out. That is when missing begins. Not when you beg to be remembered, when your absence becomes undeniable. And this is the part that will challenge you, because making an avoidant miss you is not about controlling them. It is about controlling the impulse in you that keeps collapsing your own value. Every time you reach out for reassurance from someone who already chose distance, you teach your body that love must be pursued at the cost of dignity. Every time you break no contact because you feel the panic rising, you temporarily soothe your abandonment wound, but you also reopen the entire cycle. Your nervous system gets a tiny hit of dopamine from contact, then crashes into anxiety again when their response is dry, delayed, or missing. That is not love. That is biochemical whiplash. And some part of you has confused that whiplash for passion. This is why the breakup feels like withdrawal, because it is. You are not just grieving them. You are grieving the intermittent reward, the maybe, the almost, the unfinished sentence, the hope that if you say the right thing at the right time in the right tone, they will become who you needed them to be. But they do not miss the version of you that chases from fear. They miss the version of you that was whole enough to walk away. That is the power shift. The moment you stop trying to get inside their head and return to your own body, everything changes. Because the avoidant is used to one dynamic, you feeling more than they do on the surface. You reaching more, explaining more, waiting more, carrying more. They are used to your emotional labor filling the gap their detachment creates. They may not consciously exploit it, but they adapt to it. It becomes the architecture of the bond. So when you suddenly become non-reactive, self-contained, calm, and gone, you interrupt the architecture. Now their mind has to do the moving. Now there is uncertainty. Now they don't know if you still care. Now they don't know if they still have access. Now they don't know if your love is still sitting there, untouched, exactly where they left it. And uncertainty is what activates attention, especially for someone who thought distance would give them complete control of the emotional field. This is where they start checking. Maybe not directly at first. They look at your profile. They reread old messages. They ask mutual friends vague questions. They wonder if you're seeing someone. They replay the breakup to see if they were too harsh, too cold, too final. They remember things they dismissed before. They feel flickers of guilt, then curiosity, then longing, then the urge to re-enter without admitting they miss you. So they might send something small, a breadcrumb, a casual check-in, a random memory, a "hope you're doing well," a response to a story, a song, a question they could have answered themselves. And if you are not careful, this is where you destroy your own power. Because the second an avoidant feels they can access you exactly as before, the old safety switch returns. The mystery dies. The loss softens too quickly. The nervous system relaxes back into distance. They do not have to fully feel your absence because you rushed in to rescue them from it. Do not interrupt the lesson your absence is teaching. If they come back, do not collapse. Do not pour your entire heart onto the floor because they opened the door 1 inch. Do not confuse contact with transformation. This is the warning. An avoidant missing you is not the same as an avoidant being ready for real intimacy. Read that again in your bones. People can miss you and still not be capable of loving you well. People can feel drawn to you and still fear consistency. People can return because the silence unsettled them, not because they've healed. So if they come back, you do not meet them with relief. You meet them with standards. You watch whether their actions can tolerate closeness now. You watch whether accountability exists. You watch whether they can stay present when emotion rises. You watch whether they only want access to your warmth, or whether they are finally willing to become safe for it. That is what self-worth looks like after heartbreak. Not becoming harder, not becoming colder, not becoming someone who never cared. It looks like becoming unavailable to half love. And that shift is what truly changes the game. Because the deepest reason an avoidant starts missing you is not just that you disappeared. It is that your disappearance forces them to confront a version of you they can no longer reduce. They can no longer file you under needy, dramatic, emotional, too much. Your silence removes the distorted narrative. Your restraint becomes elegant. Your absence becomes dignified. Your energy stops asking to be chosen and starts radiating that it already chose itself. That is unforgettable. That unsettles people, especially the ones who thought your devotion was permanent. And let's be honest, part of what hurts so much about loving an avoidant is that you were often loving for two. You were carrying intimacy on your back, hoping one day they would feel safe enough to hold it with you. You kept translating their distance into hidden pain because that story hurt less than admitting you were lonely in the relationship. You kept waiting for the breakthrough, the opening, the moment they would finally recognize your depth and meet you there. But there comes a moment when the most powerful thing you can do is stop auditioning for a role you already overperformed. You do not need to make someone understand your worth by bleeding it in front of them. You do not need one final message that perfectly explains your pain. You do not need to prove that you were the rare one. You do not need to remain available so that someday, maybe, possibly, they realize what they lost. If they are going to realize it, silence will do more than your suffering ever could. Because silence gives reality a voice. And reality is this: your presence mattered. Your tenderness mattered. Your consistency mattered. The way you loved mattered. Even if they could not hold it properly, it mattered. Even if they ran from it, it touched them. Even if their defenses buried the feeling at first, the body remembers safety when it is gone. That is why they miss you later. That is why they circle back later. That is why the person who seemed so detached suddenly becomes curious when you are finally no longer reaching. But your goal now cannot be to wait around and watch for proof. That is the old self, the self who measured value by whether they returned, the self who turned longing into identity, the self who thought being chosen by the emotionally unavailable would finally make the pain make sense. That self is tired, and you are allowed to outgrow them. So yes, if you want to make the avoidant miss you after a breakup, become silent. Become non-reactive. Become emotionally self-contained. Let the nervous system bond starve. Let the fantasy of your endless availability die. Let them face the emptiness where your devotion used to live. But do it for a deeper reason than revenge. Do it because every second you spend chasing someone who withdrew is a second you abandon yourself. And your real power begins the moment you stop doing that. The moment you stop asking, "How do I get them to miss me?" and start asking, "Why was I willing to beg to be remembered?" That question changes lives. Because beneath the obsession with being missed is often a much older wound. A wound that says, if someone leaves, you become less real, less lovable, less enough. And that wound will keep choosing avoidant people until you learn that your worth does not rise and fall based on who can tolerate your love. You were never too much. You were too available to someone who was too defended. You were too forgiving with someone who was too avoidant of accountability. You were too willing to stay in rooms where your emotional reality kept getting minimized. That ends here. Let them miss you. Let them wonder. Let them feel the space where your softness used to be. Let them discover, in the echo of your absence, what your presence was worth. But while they are discovering that, you discover something greater. That your power was never in your ability to hold on. It was in your ability to release, to regulate, to return to yourself, to become the kind of person who no longer begs to be chosen by people who fear choosing. And if one day they come back with trembling honesty, with accountability, with a nervous system capable of staying, you can decide from a throne instead of a wound. That is the shift. No more waiting at the door. No more performing pain for understanding. No more shrinking your instincts so their defenses can stay comfortable. You become the silence they cannot escape. And then, finally, you become the peace you no longer want to.